She said yes, because he looked safe. That is the part nobody talks about. On July 14, 1974, a Sunday, thousands of people showed up to Lake Sammamish State Park in Washington State. Families, couples, students. It was a beautiful summer day, and somewhere in that crowd, a young man in a white tennis outfit was watching. He had his arm in a sling. He was smiling. He was handsome. His name was Ted Bundy. And before that day was over, 2 women would be gone forever. Let me tell you something that took investigators years to accept. Ted Bundy was not the monster you picture when you hear the word serial killer. He was not dirty, he was not strange, he was not someone you would cross the street to avoid. Theodore Robert Bundy was born on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. His mother was young and unmarried, and in the 1940s that was considered shameful. So Ted was raised believing his grandparents were his parents, and his own mother was his sister. He found out the truth as a teenager. Some psychologists believe that moment, that lie, cracked something inside him. But from the outside, nothing showed. He was brilliant. He studied psychology at the University of Washington. He volunteered at a suicide hotline. Literally, talked people out of killing themselves. He worked on a political campaign. His supervisors called him one of the brightest people they had ever worked with. His girlfriend Elizabeth said he was gentle, patient, wonderful with her young daughter. His law school professors said he had a future. Everyone who met Ted Bundy walked away thinking the same thing. That guy's going places. They had no idea where he had already been. It started in January 1974. Yoni Lentz, 18 years old, a student at the University of Washington. She was asleep in her basement bedroom when someone broke in through her window. She was beaten with a metal rod from her own bed frame. She survived, but with permanent brain damage. She never knew who did it. 1 month later, February 1st, 1974, Linda Ann Healy, also a student. When her roommates checked on her the next morning, her bed was neatly made. Her nightgown, soaked in blood, was hanging in her closet. She was gone. Then it kept happening. Susan Elaine Rancourt, April, walking across campus at night, vanished. Roberta Kathleen Parks, May, left her dorm for a late-night walk, never seen again. Brenda Carol Ball, June, last seen leaving a bar. Georgian Hawkins, also June, walked down a well-lit alleyway behind her sorority house, disappeared between 2 buildings. A distance of maybe 30 seconds. 7 women. 6 months, no bodies, no witnesses, no suspects. Police were panicking. What they did not know was that there was a pattern. They just could not see it yet. July 14th, 1974, Lake Sammamish State Park. Janice Ott was 23 years old. She was lying on the beach, reading, enjoying the sun. A man approached her. Good-looking, white tennis outfit. His arm was in a sling. He introduced himself as Ted. He said he needed help loading his sailboat onto his car. His arm made it difficult. Could she come help? Janice hesitated. Then she said yes. She was never seen alive again. 4 hours later, same park, same day. Denise Naslund, 19 years old, told her friends she was going to the bathroom. She never came back, but this day was different from all the others. Witnesses, dozens of them. People who had seen this man approaching women all day. They gave police a description. Young, handsome, arm in a sling, driving a tan Volkswagen Beetle. Police released a composite sketch. Hundreds of people called in with the same name. Ted Bundy. But he was so well liked, so respected, that investigators initially dismissed him. He did not fit their profile of a killer. That mistake cost lives. Now let me tell you how he did it. Because this is what made him so dangerous. Bundy never looked like a threat. He dressed well. He smiled. He made eye contact. He used fake injuries, the sling, fake casts, fake limps, to seem helpless, to trigger the natural human instinct to help someone in need. His car, the tan Volkswagen Beetle, had the passenger seat removed. There was nothing in the back, just open space. He would ask women to help him with something small. Carry books, help with a boat, something that required walking to his car. And that is where it ended. Bundy later confessed that he would scout locations in advance, study the patterns, wait for the right moment. He described it in his own words as the entity, a separate part of himself that planned, hunted, and acted. He claimed he watched it happen, like an observer. Psychologists who studied him for decades called it one of the most calculated criminal minds they had ever encountered. August 1975. A police officer in Utah noticed a Volkswagen Beetle driving slowly through a neighborhood at 2 in the morning. He ran the plates. The car pulled over. Inside, Ted Bundy in the car, a ski mask, handcuffs, rope, a crowbar, and an ice pick. He was arrested, tried, convicted. Then came the murder charges, and this is where it gets almost unbelievable. June 1977. While awaiting trial in Aspen, Colorado, Bundy jumped from a second-story courthouse library window. He was recaptured 8 days later. Thin, frostbitten, but alive 6 months later. December 30th, 1977, he escaped again. This time he had spent months quietly losing weight, 35 pounds, deliberately, so he could fit through a small hole he had cut in the ceiling of his cell. Guards did not notice he was gone for 17 hours. He drove to Florida, got an apartment, used a fake name, started acting completely normal for 42 days. Then, on January 15th, 1978, just after 3 in the morning, he entered the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In less than 15 minutes, he attacked 4 women in their beds. Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy did not survive. 8 weeks later, he abducted and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his youngest known victim. He was caught weeks after that, again, during a routine traffic stop. The man who had fooled the entire country caught twice by routine traffic stops. The trial was unlike anything America had seen. Bundy represented himself. He cross-examined witnesses. He argued legal motions. He smiled at the cameras. Women sent him love letters in prison, fan mail, marriage proposals. He married one of his supporters right in the courtroom during the trial itself. The judge who sentenced him to death said, "It is an utter tragedy that this young man had to die." Even at the end, people felt sorry for him. He was sentenced to death 3 times. On January 24th, 1989, the morning of his execution, he gave a final interview. He spoke calmly, clearly, like a man giving a lecture. At 7:16 in the morning, the electric chair was switched on. Outside the prison, a crowd of people cheered. Here is what I cannot stop thinking about. Bundy confessed to 30 murders. But investigators believe the real number is closer to 100, maybe more. He took that number to his grave. The scariest part of the Ted Bundy story is not what he did. It is how long everyone around him refused to believe it. His girlfriend, his colleagues, his professors, his neighbors. They all said the same thing after his arrest: "I never saw it." And that is the thing about people like Bundy. They do not look like what they are. They look like the person you would ask for directions, the person you would sit next to on a plane, the person your parents would trust. The mask is the whole point. So the next time someone tells you to trust your gut, maybe listen. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. Because next week, We are covering the Zodiac Killer, the case that has never been officially solved, the man who taunted police for decades and was never caught. I will see you then.